I'm gonna get started on making these custom radiator hoses today for the Barracuda. So I got my materials already, but in order to get those, I kind of just figured out what kind of angles I needed and the sizes of the inlets and outlets on the engine and the radiator. So these are 1.5" on the radiator on the top. This one's 1.5", and the lower one is 1.75" to 1.5" on the water pump. So I got that figured out, and that tells me what size couplers I need to get, because I'm not going to use hose or full length pieces of hose, because this radiator is kind of a universal racing radiator, I guess you'd call it, from Speedway. And I was just going to use couplers at each end and then some kind of pipe in between. So I got my stuff from a website called Silicone Intakes. They sell these silicone couplers, and I got a piece of aluminum with a 45 in it. But I'll kind of show you real quickly how I kind of determined the materials I needed. Their website has all the dimensions for their couplers on there, so you can, or at least I did, I made templates to try to figure out what I needed. I initially thought I was going to use a 45-degree coupler up here somewhere, but ended up not using that. So I did make a couple of 90-degree templates out of some old cereal box, and that's kind of how I determined what to order. I just kind of eyeballed it, figured out what I was going to do, something like that, and that gave me the material list. So that's what I got. I got two 90s out of silicone for the upper hose and the 45 aluminum. So that'll be a 90 off the upper radiator here into the aluminum 45 that'll shoot over to the thermostat housing. And for the lower, because it's got such an odd angle coming out of the radiator here, it made it kind of difficult for me to get a bent pipe like the one I have for the upper there. So I ended up going with this stuff, which I'm not a huge fan of. I personally think it's a little cheesy looking, but it's certainly going to make the lower hose easy. That way I just use two straight couplers to that bendy stuff. This is stainless at least, but yeah, I definitely didn't want to use that on the upper, so just because it would be right in your face. But I think it'll be okay in the lower. We'll see. I've never used it before, but it seems like it'll be all right. Just have to cut its length. So I'm going to start fitting this stuff together and figure out what I need to do to adjust it and make it work. Obviously, I got a bunch of freaking stuff on that to cut off. And I already kind of test fit some of these couplers, like this one here, for instance. I mean, you can see it's already pretty tall even when it slipped on there. So I might adjust some of that. But I'm going to throw it together a little bit here and show you, and maybe do some marks or something where I'm going to cut some of this stuff. So I got started on the lower here. I just got both my straight couplers on, the water pump and the lower neck on the radiator there. And I slipped that corrugated stuff on into that coupler on the water pump, and as you can see, it's long, which I knew it would be. It'd have to be cut. So I think I'm just trying to figure out how much I should cut off. Obviously, I don't want to cut off too much at first, but I don't want to be cutting it a bunch of times either. But I think what I'm going to do here is maybe cut 1.25" off of it in length so it'll slide up in the water pump a little further, and I think that'll put me pretty close to where I need to be. I need this bend to kind of, I don't want to put stress on this coupler here on the water pump when I tweak on it like that too much, but it's got to clear this belt, which the belt shoots down towards the crank, so it's not like it's coming down in front of it, but it's a little close, but I think it's going to be just fine. So I'm going to pull this out of here and chop about 1.25" off this end and see how it fits after that. So I got my mark here. It's about 1.25" like I said. I'm just going to try to cut that with my little portable bandsaw thing here. It worked perfect. Really would like to have one of those those vertical mounted ones, like the swag off-road ones. That'd be nice if I just push it through there. But that cut pretty well. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit and then test fit it again. All right, so I ended up having to cut that again just slightly because of, as you can see here, this is good now, but when I cut that first time, I kind of veered off to the side and it opened up one of these tall areas in the corrugation there. So if you're dealing with this stuff, just beware of that. So I had to take an extra like eighth off, so hopefully that didn't hurt me any, but I think it'll be all right. So I'm gonna test it in the car now. So that extra eighth I had to take off actually might have worked out just right, because it looks like it's perfect. If you can see that one down there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, kind of worked out great. And I got me a little belt here, the old belt, just to test it out here, and if I can kind of pretend like it's gonna go around that crank pulley down there, I think it's gonna be just fine. It's clearing it with no issues whatsoever. So I'm gonna pull that back out and just slide the clamps over where they go, and then get started on getting this upper hose working. All right, got the lower hose all finished up, the clamps on it. Pretty straightforward, besides the clamp that goes on the water pump there. That was a big struggle. I guess because the water pump's cast, it's like a little bigger than 1.5 inches. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be, 1.5 inch hose that goes on it. My coupler went on it, but it was kind of difficult. But those clamps, I got those from the same website, and there's only two different, like, there's no in-between size is what I'm trying to say. There's a clamp for the 1 3/4 inch, which I used on the lower radiator outlet, and 1.5 inch. Well, the 1 3/4 inch I put on it because it was so big I had a hard time getting the 1.5 inch clamp on it. But it tightened down on pretty much all the way and still was slightly loose. It wasn't clamping enough. So I put the 1.5 inch on there, and it was just absolutely a struggle. Just, I guess, because of where it's located too, right here, it's very hard to get your hands in there, but it was so tight that, you know, you have to squeeze them together to get those threads to stick out on these clamps. How this like bar goes through here and comes out to where the nut is. You have to squeeze it like that. It was so tight that squeezing it with my hand, I couldn't get enough thread to stick out to get the nut started. So I fought that for a while. I even took it back to the bench and kind of put a bend in the threaded part just to try to make it easier to run into the end piece there where the nut seats up against it. I just fought it for a while, and I ended up barely getting it to work by rotating it down here. I had it rotated kind of like pointing where my finger's pointing, and I was able to get a pair of channel locks on it and squeeze it tight and get my other hand in there and get the nut started. So I got that finally. Now I got the upper hose stuff going on here. I got the couplers on, and this is my pipe. As you can see, it's going to be pretty close to that 45 where this coupler is going to slip onto it, but obviously I have way too much pipe here, so I'm going to start off by just cutting like 1.5 inches off of this end, and I'll just take I'll probably just do a rough mark down here and cut that and go from there. So I'm going to go over here and cut this off with my little bandsaw again, and I'll bring it back and do another test fit. Alright, got it all cleaned up. The edge is pretty smoothed out. I ran a round file inside of it just to clear that out. I did kind of booger it up on my belt sander over there on the tray. I should have put some tape on it or something. But this is the bottom, so you won't see it, but I still might try to clean that up here in a little bit. But let's see if it fits. I can take this off. No extra cutting, I guess. That worked out good. Check it out. I mean, I'm looking at this, and I mean, I had originally thought that maybe I'd want to cut some off of this coupler here. But I mean, honestly, it's fine. I could cut some off, I guess. But is it gonna, I have to think about if it's gonna make it harder for me to, like, say, get to this later. I don't think it would, but it's really not bad. I think I might leave it like that. I think it looks pretty good. Alright, so now I just need to, I mean, I guess I don't have to, but I think I might try to roll some beads in the end of those. I got a new bead roller. So let me pop this out of here and take it over there and try to roll some beads in the ends of these. Alright, so here's my cheapy little bead roller for tubing. I don't even know what that says, but they're all the same, I think. If you look them up, Google them, Amazon them, eBay, whatever, they all kind of look like this. It's like 30 some bucks, maybe 40 bucks. And I don't know, I haven't tried it yet, but I got it to do this specifically, so I hope it does good. The freaking handle here, it's got a little, like a clamp screw in it. I got that sucker cranked down and it's still not staying on the machine here, so just have to slip it on there when I go to use it. But I got my pipe here in place. I've got this snug down on it. I'm gonna get this set up and see how it does. Oh man, I got crap in the way everywhere. Let's try it again. My vise not mounted still. Alright, it's doing something. Alright, starting to get a decent bead on here. I think this might be sufficient. Oh yeah, that's pretty decent. That's after about, I don't know, I think I did probably 8 or 9 passes on this, doing it around and tightening it down. So that looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and do this other side and then I'll put it in the car. Alright, got the short end rolled. I think it looks pretty good. I just hit it with some of this aluminum polish from others to get rid of some of those imperfections, and I think it looks pretty good. It's got my fingerprints all over it again, but it cleaned up all those little marks. So I'm gonna walk it over here and put it in here, hopefully for the last time. I did go ahead and cut about I wanna say 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch off of this coupler to kind of drop the hose down a little bit. All right, there it is. Definitely fits good. Looks like it worked out really well. And I like the way that looks. And in the past, I've done piece together hoses. You know, you go to the auto parts store and try to figure out something that'll fit and maybe put a little piece of pipe in between it inside the couplet, and that looks all right, but I wanted to try this time using a hard line in the middle between 2 couplers, and I think it looks pretty good. I like it. So let me get these all oriented correctly and tightened down and take a final look. Radiator hoses are done. Just got her tightened down and wiped off, and I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty straightforward, besides these clamps kind of giving me a fit. The one on the water pump and the one on this thermostat housing just gave me a fit. I guess this being cast as well, it's up here where it's ribbed or whatever, it's slightly bigger than 1.5 inches, I guess, and those clamps just do not want to go any more than 1.5 inches. It's a fight, so I ended up having to freaking put this one in the vise and bend it too, so I could get it on here and squeeze it together, and the threads went through the clamp. I don't know, it was just a fight. It sucked, but it's on there. So if you're using different clamps or, you know, typical worm gear clamps, probably be a lot faster. Those 2 items took me a a good bit of extra time to get right. But I think they'll hold good over time. And they look all right. I'm not super sold on them yet, but it is what it is. It's gonna work, I hope. Anyways, not too far along. We're putting water in this thing. I got to cap off my heater hoses, put a sensor in the intake there for the gauge, and I got belts on the way. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.